Welcome to the Run Your Day podcast, a show dedicated to helping you expand your capacity, take your life in every area to an entirely new level, and creating a day and a life by design. Here's your host, Dan Hafner. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Run Your Day podcast for another episode here. As always, your host, Dan Hafner. Appreciate you guys joining. Today's topic is this: along comes another one. Hashtag another one. Appreciate you guys joining. Sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. All right, so I wanted to come on here and talk about a recent development in my life and apply it to probably something that's going on in your life. Now, this episode is directed more at the people here that, if you're trying to start an online business, or you are involved in sales in some way, or, it's pretty much geared towards any of you out there. I know that there's several of you, so I'm really kind of talking to you specifically. Now, the rest of you, don't be scared away or just click off of this episode. This can definitely apply to you as well, but I just wanted to preface this show with that. So without further ado, what is the story I wanted to tell? So my wife and I, as I've talked about in recent episodes, we are in the process of selling our house and moving to Hershey, Pennsylvania. Now, our house has been on the market for about a week, and yesterday, actually, we got 2 offers in one day, which was pretty cool. We had a lot of traffic here. Our house was in a very desirable area for where we live, at least in Charleston, West Virginia, and it went pretty fast. It took about a week, right? A week and a day. And basically the story went like this. We got an offer in the morning, which was an incredibly lowball offer. Like, to be blunt about it, it was ridiculous. And I knew it right when it happened. And I kind of went back to my sales job days where I had many of these instances where people were trying to buy things, at a very, very low cost. We as human beings, we're very wired to save money. And I think a lot of us that aren't really good at sales or were never trained in sales, we kind of have this hesitancy or this tendency to want to accommodate people, to be like, okay, you gave some, I'll give some, right? And there's a principle of reciprocity there. But ultimately, what ended up happening was somebody came along right as we were making a counteroffer that made an offer that was like, blew that one out of the water, like completely blew it out of the water. Like, we had to have a little bit of patience, right? And that kind of goes back to the title of the show, Along Came Another One. And right along the time where, we're sitting here like, man, like, I don't know if this is going to work out. We really aren't going to make out as well as we thought here. Like, the fear and the doubt and the insecurity and all these stories start creeping up, and you're like, man, this is not going to work out. I mean, can you relate here? You have a situation in your life where you thought you were going to get out ahead of something, or you were going to, come out of a situation looking a lot better, or being better financially off, or being better off in a relationship, or something like that. And then all of a sudden something happens. You're like, it's like that oh shit moment. You're like, oh crap, this is this could be bad. This could be really, really bad. This was not a good decision, right? And it's in those moments when you have to remember that the fear and the doubt and all that stuff that creeps up in those moments, it's not real, right? It's manufactured in our brains. It's manufactured. It's bullshit. It's not real. What's real is the facts. What's real is like, hey, I have this deal in front of me. I have this offer in front of me, and looking at it without any emotions attached, this is either a good deal or a bad deal, right? And this is very, very hard. Like, it's very hard to go through life looking at everything very objectively like this. And I think it takes away from the raw feelings that we should feel, and the anger, the happiness, the sadness, the sorrow, the jubilation, the insert emotion here of whatever is happening, right? And I think that there's a piece of that that's very good to have, but when it comes down to some things in life, you have to be objective about it. You have to look at the facts, and that is what's going to purge the fear and the doubt and the insecurity and all the fear stories running around in your mind of like, oh my God, this is going to kill me. This is going to be bad. That's your reptilian brain freaking out, jumping to conclusions, and drowning you, right? That's all it is. That's all it is, because you never know when another one's going to come along in the term of whatever situation you're encountering, and it's all going to be good. Like it's going to be all good in the hood, right? Like it reminds me of just like there were so many instances when I had my sales gig that I saw, people go down this rabbit hole, and you could see it all over people's faces, and you could both in short-term and long-term situations. And maybe you can relate to this as well, but there's so many people that allow fear to dictate their life. They try to do everything they can to not mess things up, to keep the status quo, to make sure that they don't rock the boat. And that, I will propose to you, is a terrible way to live your life. I know this because I've done this for 30 years, okay? And I've recently started to get out of that comfort zone. And I promise you, there is a life and a reality outside of that is magical, because you're not living a lie anymore. You're not living a lie. You're actually being authentic. You're actually doing and being the way that you want the world to perceive you. And you don't have this two-faced mentality of like, well, this is how I really feel, but this is how I have to act in order to make this work, right? And a lot of us get stuck in that place. We do. We do. And whether it's inside of, a fitness routine or a relationship or a job, or especially a job. For me, it was a job. Like I knew I wanted to have my own business. I knew I wanted to do my own thing. I knew I wanted to make a bigger impact in the world. And yet I was at jobs that I just freaking hated. And I knew I shouldn't have even taken. Right. And for me, that's what it was for a long time. So I guess as I wrap up a little bit of a shorter show today, my question for you is this: where in your life do you see this pattern happen over and over, where you have the fear stories that run your mind, where you think things are screwed up, things are messed up, things are going down a path that you don't want them to go, but in reality, when you take a step back and look at the facts, it's actually not that bad. And you're just allowing the fear stories to run your life. So it's a little bit of a longer question, but I'll repeat it for you. I'll try to synthesize it. Where in your life are you letting the fear stories run the show? Right? Think about that. There's got to be an area. I know that there's an area in your life somewhere, if you really, really take a good hard look at it, that you try to two-face, you try to lie, you try to manipulate, you try to cover things up to make sure that it stays the way it is, or you avoid the things you really need to do and you allow that fear story to take over. Because once you identify that, you can start attacking that. You can start being aware of when that fear story is taking over, and you can combat it. And you can take a deep breath and no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to approach it this way. You can take control back of your mind, and it's liberating. It's freaking exhilarating and liberating, and it's awesome, and it's the better way to live, I promise you. Okay? All right, my friends, that's going to wrap up the show. As always, I appreciate you guys joining here. I have a couple announcements I'm going to make here, hopefully in the next couple of shows. I have some really cool stuff coming down the line for you guys. As always, you can head over to runyourdaypodcast.com, get opted into our email list there to get the weekly newsletter, and that's going to be going to be at least starting and I lost my word here. Going to be starting and continuing here moving forward. All All right, my friends, that is all. I really appreciate you guys joining. Get after that fear story. Don't let it control your day. As always, Dan Hafner signing off. Make it a great rest of your day.